Hello and welcome to the Steel Cage Podcast. This is Josh, the founder and proprietor of thesteelcage.com, and I'm doing the intro this week because I think Daryl slept in. But anyways, to my left, I have Brian Gregston.
Some fucking asshole.
I'm trying to remember the terrible nicknames we have for each other.
Pipe Bomb. It's Pipe Bomb Brian Gregston, you son of a bitch.
Pipe Bomb Brian Gregston, yes. It's been a little while.
Since
You're the worst,
I
Josh.
took a huge shit somewhere? Nope. The answer to that is nope. I just haven't done it at someone else's domicile.
Oh, goodness. For the record, no pipe bombs have been dropped tonight. Also on the line from the Peanut Butter Palace here in Phoenix, Arizona, Derek Montilla. The mayor of Reseda, by the way.
Thank you. That's a proper introduction. And the night's still young. Pipe bombs could still be dropped.
Oh, God.
In your house.
I hope not. Bert,
he's going to do it while we're recording. You can't do anything about it.
It's either going to be Brian or it's going to be my dog, Bert. All right.
No, it's not Bert.
Bert's shits cannot keep up with me.
Bert's potty trained, so...
Yeah.
Bert doesn't drag his ass on the carpet anymore either.
True.
Can't say that.
And from somewhere here in Arizona, Tempe, I believe.
Yep.
All right, the Super Jew, Jared.
And Josh, on his great intro, also forgot to mention that this is episode 225. For any of you who are confused as to
Thank
what
you, Jared.
this is.
Thank you. Let's get some consistency around here, Josh.
Hey, this is episode 225 of the Steel Cage Podcast. Welcome. Hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome.
Hey, Josh, do we have any emails this week? Yes, Josh, we do have emails this week. Cool.
Holy shit.
I just want to say...
This is off the rails already.
It's meta, Josh.
The square root of episode 225 is episode 15.
I have a copper mug full of vodka right now, so things are about to get weird.
This is going to get off the rails fast. Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right. First email comes from Frankie in Hollywood, and he wrote from Hollywood specifically for Daryl. So, Daryl, where you at, man?
Hollywood, Florida, or Hollywood, California?
I think he's from California. He's definitely not from Hollywood, but his name's... I don't even think his name is Frankie, to be honest, but... we call him Frankie from Hollywood.
Man.
Yeah.
Kayfabe.
Yeah.
Kayfabe.
Anyways, yeah, actually, I guess he is from Hollywood. Based
Frankie,
on the
actually
question.
From Hollywood?
What?
I'm talking to Frankie now.
Oh.
Talking directly to Frankie through the internets.
That's not how podcasts work, Brian. Frankie either went to Hollywood or he's from Hollywood because his question actually has to do, it's related to Lucha Underground. He writes, so this is a random question that came to me over the weekend. Some friends and I were at the Lucha Underground tapings at the temple, and the couple behind us had an interesting moment. The fella asked his lady if she would, quote, be his Katie Vick. So my
oh, God, yes!
I know, right?
Frankie, did you turn around and high-five the motherfucker, because he deserved it.
Oh, my God.
Essentially, Frankie's wondering if we have anything that can one-up that we have overheard in the company of wrestling fans.
Jesus Christ, no.
Oh,
No,
all the fucked up
nothing.
shit Brian said, no.
I mean, I've said some vile things, but I don't know if I've gone that far.
You've talked about pissing on Ayrton Senna's grave in relation to Jericho.
Talked
and
about
that still
it?
doesn't top being
Talked
somebody's
about I've
dead.
fucking done it. That's not true. I haven't been to Brazil. But...
All right. I'm at a loss. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else on that?
No.
Yeah, write back and let us know
Right.
whether or not you high-fived the guy. Because he fucking deserves
Yeah,
a high-five.
let us know, Frankie. Give us an update on Twitter at the very least, and I'll tag Brian in it.
Well,
I also
more
wanna know his
importantly,
response.
yeah, exactly. I want to see how that went over. Like, was there a knowledge of Katie Vick on the women's end, and was there any kind of approval or disapproval of that situation? Like, I don't even understand how that could have ended, other than her either being confused by who Katie Vick is, or slugging him in his mouth and storming off.
You know, like, we're a little bit late for Valentine's Day, but, like, there could be some really terrible Valentine's Day cards. Like,
oh my god.
Like, would you be my Santina to your Beth Phoenix? Or
I want to drug you and marry you through a drive-through Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God. All right.
You know, actually, I
have your boss's daughter.
I have been volunteering at retirement homes lately, and I've just been asking all the old ladies there if they want to be my Mae Young in my best Mark Henry voice.
There are many little hands running around these days.
They're giving lots of low fives.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear God. Okay, that's what I was hoping for. All right, cool.
Perfect.
Nick from New York.
That's what you were hoping for?
Yeah. Pretty much, if this is your first download of the Steel Cage podcast, my hope is that I scare you away.
If this is your first download of the Steel Cage podcast, Josh's hope is that it's your last download also.
And you made it 5 minutes, but you know what? You downloaded it, so thank you for the number.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your one download, sir.
I really hope that the Katie Vick dude, the dude who asked the question, is a listener. I just hope he's a listener and tweets one of us
that'd be
about
fantastic.
his story and why.
Well, and regardless, at Lucha Underground, maybe we'll meet him next month.
Maybe you guys will.
Aw, sorry, Brian.
Sorry, Brian.
Sad
but we will be there for Lucha Underground season finale, which is going to be really weird because we'll be just wrapping up season 2 on TV, and then we'll be going to see season 3. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but it'll be
It's
fun.
going to be awesome, so who gives a shit?
Totally,
I will say just in relation to him being at that taping, I'm glad you survived because it didn't seem like many people were going to with the way that particular taping this weekend went. I believe several people had some very serious injuries, including one of Daryl's favorites, Jack Evans, had his jaw broken.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah.
How's that fucker gonna talk?
Exactly. That was his tweet. He was like, the fucking hell is frozen over. Jack Evans can't talk. Also, Matanza apparently cut himself really, really bad on a window spot.
He Goldberged himself.
Yeah,
he
did. He did Goldberg himself. So, yeah, it was. But apparently, it was significantly worse than that from people's description.
Hey, you want to know something terrible? I still don't know who Matanza is. I'm literally like 8 episodes back on my DVR right now. It's terrible. I need to just take like a day.
Have you ever played Splatterhouse back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that means nothing to you now, but it will when you meet Matanza.
Okay.
So, yeah, just wait for that. That'll be fun.
All right. Next email comes from Nick in New York. He writes, "Wow, WWE has really turned it around. All the storylines are actually hitting the right notes. I'm enjoying the storylines more than the wrestling for the first time in a long time." I would say they're right up there with the wrestling, quite frankly.
Yep.
It's fun. It's good. It's one of those things where you kind of just look back at WrestleMania and we're like, I don't know what that was all about. Let's just sort of look at everything past that, and the last few weeks have been pretty cool.
It's so weird. It's almost like it's like an entirely different show from Raw after Mania through now compared to the last, from Mania back to when Rollins got hurt.
It's a new era, man, as they keep proclaiming this is the first pay-per-view of the new era. All right, I might need to kick my dog out of the room. I'm sorry.
What up, Bert?
Bert's actually not doing anything. That's actually me breathing hard and masturbating.
Yeah,
Brian.
That's how excited Brian is over the new stuff. But no, I think that it's been crazy, right? I mean, we always know we've called WrestleMania the end of the season. So, like, the Monday after Mania is, like, the season debut. It's where they start new storylines, go in different directions. And it's just kind of weird how they've acknowledged the mistakes they've made in the past and leading up to WrestleMania and have completely changed direction in so many ways.
Right.
So
it's very successful, and it's been very entertaining. And more than anything, the matchups, the tag team division, everything has been better. The storylines have made more sense. I mean, it's odd the way that it took such a turn after Mania. It's like the Mania plans, even though they were fucked up and they had to scramble at the last minute, got set in stone, way early without them even having any kind of consideration about changing them. And then Mania just kind of played out to be this mediocre thing that, it was pretty and it had all the right kind of sparkle and shine, but in the end had very little substance. Everything post-Mania has had substance, and I think that's been the big difference.
So, WWE realized that when they killed off Patrick Duffy at WrestleMania, that was a bad idea. So the next night, they sort of fucked around a little while, but then he showed up again wearing a towel in a steamy bathroom, and they're like, guys, it was all a dream. Fucking hit that reset button, and here we are.
I'm really curious what percentage of our listeners are going to get that reference.
More importantly, I love the way you brought it back around with the dream sequence ending as well. That was beautifully done. And I'll say that I wonder how many people have a problem with that. Do you guys have a problem with that, or have you gotten over the Undertaker Shane?
I'm over it, man. I mean, it's been so entertaining. It's just one of those things where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. They screwed up. They kind of know they did, and they're heading in a different direction. They're calling this the new era. I don't care. I don't care. WrestleMania 32 is in the rear view. Eventually I'll watch it, in a bubble. I'll watch it for what it was and not think about, its implications on storylines or anything. It just is what it is.
What about you guys? Because you guys weren't there at the Raw after Mania, and I feel like being there, I mean, I even watched it after we, saw it live, and then I watched it when I came back, and I didn't think that it was a great explanation, but I thought Vince's reaction to Shane coming back was reasonable, and at the very least kind of just allowed us to be on this path.
I'm less upset about it now because the product's been fun, and it hasn't been the Shane running Raw hasn't been a huge focal point. It's been kind of a here and there thing, unlike the Authority where they were constantly involved. But I still would have liked something to kind of explain that. Even if Stephanie, when she came back this week, had just said, "You lost. You shouldn't be here. This is my show."
Good point.
It didn't even.
That would have been good. Yeah, that would have been good to hear. At least acknowledge it.
Yeah, at least acknowledge that you're going against what was it was their marquee storyline going into Mania. And I think they realized that. They sold that as the big one versus, Triple H Reigns kind of got pushed to the back. So they just completely abandon it without even referencing it. And I think that's where it becomes a problem, is that they never referenced it. There was no, Taker didn't come say something, didn't really acknowledge he lost it, he shouldn't be his, and they just kept rolling with it based on, well, Twitter reaction says. It's like, give us something to validate why you're doing this. At least let us know that you realize what you said.
Dude, to me, it's become a joke. This is pro wrestling. It's like, not everything has to be super serious. And I don't get me wrong, I would love for everything to wrap up really nicely with a bow on it, but I don't know. As far as this is concerned, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. They're going forward with this thing. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense, but there's other things to focus on, like a lot of really cool rivalries and storylines that do exist right now. So that's the way I choose to look at it.
Yeah, more importantly, that they've moved on in a better direction, and that's all I care about.
Yes,
and
this is by no means a message to WWE of it's okay to do that sort of thing, because it's not. It's pretty shitty, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Would it have mattered to have Undertaker lose, especially if you would have had, if they would have had the foresight to all right, who do we want Undertaker to feud with at next year's WrestleMania or something, and have that person interfere at the point of after Shane jumping off, comes out, hits Taker with a chair a couple of times, pulls Shane over on top. I don't see the point at this point. At this point in Undertaker's career, I don't see the point in protecting his wins and losses at WrestleMania. If you were going to go in this direction, just commit to it and go to it. And nobody's going to think oh, Undertaker sucks. we already know he's old and we already know he's susceptible to loss. We're past that in this point in his career. Right. I feel like that was a big problem, and I feel like that's that whole too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing where, the storyline was driving in one direction, and if it would have gone that way at Mania and driven through to where we're at now, it would have been a clean, concise storyline. But instead, somebody had to be like, oh, well, we can't have Shane beat Taker at Mania. That's going to make Taker look weak. And it's like, Taker's a fucking 100 years old. Let's stop worrying about protecting him and worry about the product and putting together a concise storyline.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it if they didn't want Shane to go over clean. I get that. Get Shane to have somebody come out and help Shane, and then set up either a feud, like you said, with the Undertaker, or even to get involved with the Authority. Ending up facing Triple H for control.
Yeah.
Something like that. This is
the main hazard, or this is the main, I think, thing that is blocking some people's view of moving on. This is the one hang-up I see on Twitter about the current storyline direction that people keep referencing back to. So that's the only reason why I bring it up is that the Taker Shane thing seems to be the one thing that because they constantly reference Shane running Raw. Even at the pay-per-view, Vince is going to decide who's going to run Raw. That's how we opened up the show this week with Stephanie McMahon coming back and instantly making things worse, seemingly, at least in my opinion. But they once again referenced it, and I think that's part of the problem is they're rubbing Shane running Raw in your face, so it's a constant reminder about the way things went down just a few weeks ago. So I think that's part of the problem. If they moved on a little bit and at least stopped constantly being like, Shane's running Raw tonight, that might be a little less of the sting. But for me, even though I'm past it, I will say every time I hear that, it brings up memories of the fact that he lost to Taker. Why the fuck is he even running Raw right now?
Yep, and they never gave a good explanation for it or said something about, set up something where, all right, you proved yourself, you took Battle of Taker. I'll let you run Raw for the next, X amount of weeks, and if you do a good job, maybe I'll reconsider. Something like that.
Well, and that's kind of what they did. It was like he got it for 1 week, and it was such a success that they've let him run it. But they even the way I just worded it was more cleanly than they have. Like they haven't set that straight up, but I think that's what they're implying.
Well, and what they could do at this point, which again, like as you're sort of alluding to, they may not even bother to mention, but like when Vince McMahon comes out and addresses the situation, it's like, hey, talking about what's best for business, what's best for ratings, what's best for fan sentiment and future stock prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did they go into that stuff? I don't know, but like they totally could, and it would make sense. But
why not? It makes Vince's decisions make more sense to us. Because then it just sounds like Vince is a cold, calculated businessman that really doesn't give a shit about his kids. He just cares about the bottom line.
Yeah.
Like even if he does something like he tells Shane, "You're gonna run Raw because it's best for business, but I don't like it." And later we see something where he has Shane jumped or something to show that he still has that disdain for Shane, but he's doing it in spite of it. Because that's what's best for business.
Right.
Something to kind of just close that Vince was saying he'd disown him. If he lost, he's no longer his son. You're nothing to me, blah, 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 blah. I guess you're good at your job, so here you go. You can run Raw.
Man, it could be almost like a metaphor. Like Shane McMahon comes out to the money. Here comes the money. Like literally, he represents money to Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. Yep. I dig it. Well, and I mean, honestly, once again, that's just a reasonable explanation for Vince choosing, a kid that, like Jared said, he's told that you're not my son. I disown you and all the shit that he said to him, and still make the decision to put him in charge because it comes down to what makes sense business-wise. And I mean, even it would be nice at Payback if Vince made the decision to have Shane continue to run Raw, to rub Stephanie's, nose in the "it's what's best for business" line. That would be a perfect opportunity to do so because technically Shane running Raw has been what's best for business. Even if he's just a figurehead like the Queen, and it's really just their excuse to now change direction and do things differently and do things in a more, fan-friendly way where they're taking the feedback from the audience and actually utilizing it, then so be it. I don't care the overall reason for it. I'm just glad that they're on the path that they are now. The matches we've seen over the last 4 weeks have been amazing. Even, I know we're going to get to other stuff, later in the night, but one of the things we've always asked for is, like, if you're going to have a shitty match between guy A and guy B that doesn't matter and has had no storyline and no setup, at the very least, can't you have them come out and, like, call each other out beforehand or whatever? And we even saw that with Apollo Crews and Stardust later in the night, this night. And it was one of the things that, even though it was small, it made me happy. They made a very small rivalry in a short amount of time, and it was simple. They didn't put a lot of effort into it, and that's the stuff that they've been missing from past weeks. That's the stuff they were missing for probably 6 months leading up to WrestleMania.
Dude, totally.
It's the little stuff,
And it's pretty much the whole card. I'm very excited about the whole thing, but yeah, as you said, we'll get into that. We do have a couple other emails I want to get to before we move forward. The next one comes from Jose in Parts Unknown.
No way, Jose! Sorry, I had to do that.
Yeah, I know, right? Good one. He writes, so I have 2 questions. First, after seeing TakeOver Dallas, I can't help but feel excited about Shinsuke Nakamura. His music is arguably the best in WWE. Yes, obviously. He oozes charisma and he carries himself like a star that belongs on the big stage. Do you think he's in good hands and WWE has turned a corner on Japanese talent, ranging from him, including Hideo Itami? Also, my personal take on that is yes, 100%. This is a very different time from Kai and Tai. This is a very different time from even Yoshitatsu, who was supposed to be kind of a big signing at the time, but never really amounted to much, and maybe for good reasons. I don't know.
I can say this about Yoshitatsu. His English was worse than that of Taka Michinoku, which is really saying something.
Yeah, we know. We heard him commentate at Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, so bad.
It was the worst. But no. I still withhold judgment, I think. I can't say that I'm 100% confident because I haven't seen any of the Japanese wrestlers utilized on the main roster yet. And, NXT does a great job with talent. I don't know what the main roster is going to do with them yet. I feel confident because, like, Nakamura is one of those guys that just oozes charisma. I mean, I tweeted out Rob Schamberger's video, but I think he made the best point in there, which is Nakamura is just one of those guys that you don't even have to know him. The first time you see him, you're just like, yeah, this is something special. All it takes is seeing him once, and then the next time that he's available for you to see him, he's instantly a draw. So there is something special and charismatic and amazing about Nakamura that not most wrestlers don't have. But I still, like I said, I withhold judgment until I see these guys on the main roster because I don't know what they're going to do with them on the main roster. I know NXT respects guys of their pedigree, but I don't know if the main roster will.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that part of it to consider is Vince is really trying to open up the Asian markets. So those guys are going to be financially good for him if he can get them to the main roster and start making money off them. The question is does he see enough money in making them, champions and contenders, or are they going to be Dolph Ziggler? It's really where you're going to have to. What's the how high does Vince want to go? Is he maybe going to give him a big run as they're heading to do a tour of Asia, or are they just going to kind of be there and kind of be those enhancement guys?
Are they going to give him? Are they going to give Nakamura a big run, or another Japanese wrestler a big run, or are they going to just re-edit everything to make them seem like heroes just for the Japanese market, like they did with the Great Khali and the Indian market?
Right. That's a good point.
Well, you forget Khali was a world champion in the U.S. market too, which was awful.
Khali was a hero to children everywhere.
Oh dear God!
Well,
he's a police officer and he can't even read.
Oh, I've seen that guy jump off the top turnbuckle once in a video, and it amazed the shit out of me.
He did that?
He was also fighting another guy who was like also 7 feet tall, which made the whole match seem just odd and amazing.
He jumped off the top turnbuckle. He was then carried off in a stretcher, and nobody saw him for 4 months.
That was the end of his career. No.
Could the other guy read, Derek?
What's that?
Could the other guy read?
Are you referencing the sign that I once brought that just said Khali is illiterate? Because I did that.
I thought it said
I feel a little bit bad about it. Sign. But it was true. No, it just said Khali is illiterate.
Josh, you are the biggest unintentional asshole ever.
I mean, it was true. You know?
It's a fact. It's not even like she's making anything up. It's a fact. No, but on a serious note, I did kind of laugh because my wife made a comment about the fact that Sami Zayn has Arabic writing on the front of his, on his pants. And, I explained to her.
Isn't it Hebrew?
What's that?
No, it's not Hebrew.
No, it's Arabic.
It's read. It's read from right to left like Hebrew, but
Arabic, like it's Saudi Arabia.
It's not Hebrew.
Right. So anyway, it was like, I explained to her his past and, how he's Middle Eastern or, part Middle Eastern and, his world travels and everything. And like, she just in general kind of made a statement like, don't wrestling fans like have isn't that like an un-American thing? And I had such a problem with my wife having this like old school conception of wrestling fans being like, people that also love NASCAR and America, like
Trump voters. You're upset because she thinks all wrestling fans are Trump voters.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I guess that really was a thing, like, going back to those 97 Raws when we watched, that we watched because of Billy, there was a lot of stuff in there that made me laugh with the audience, but it's definitely changed and it's not that way anymore. It's not like, you have a guy come out with something like that on his trunks, and it's not like people instantly think, oh, that guy's a terrorist or something. Now, given we did have the discussion about the fact that his skin is white, so it'd probably be much different if he looked Middle Eastern and also was playing this role, because, there's a good chance that people probably wouldn't accept it as readily. But still, he's, one of those situations where, I mean, not even my wife, I've had other people bring up the same thing to me about wrestling fans, and, I don't know. The culture's different, and I think it's different from the 90s when Japanese wrestlers were kind of seen in a racial way. It's different than when, a lot of races were seen in a certain way. I mean, Christ, we joke about it all the time, but it's like all the races were grouped up together. All the Puerto Ricans were in a group, all the blacks were in a group, all of the whites were seen as like some sort of neo-Nazi, you have a shaved head, you go over with these guys here, So it definitely was a different time racially. I think that now people are more accepting, but more than anything, I think guys, especially like Nakamura, have transcended just being like, oh, he's a Japanese wrestler, oh, he's this. No, he's just Nakamura. He's just a wrestling superstar, and people just see him as that. I don't think they give a shit if he can cut a promo in English, and I don't think they give a shit about the fact that he comes from Japan. I think he's just an awesome, charismatic, person that kind of transcends all that, and hopefully his presence on the main roster, can be the big cataclysm that causes people to start.
Yeah,
that stops worrying about that kind of shit.
The catalyst, yeah. I really think that somebody like Shinsuke, they don't need to do a ton with him to introduce him to the main roster, but if and when that does happen, like, I feel like his personality can come through first and foremost. It's not, hey, this is a guy from Japan, just like you were saying. It's, hey, this is a really quirky, weird guy, and he's really amazing at wrestling. And oh my god, he just kicked that guy's head off. They could get that across really, really easily with a solid debut match. Yeah. And that's kind of the point of him. And I have faith. I think they are turning a corner.
Well, I think, and going back to Schamberger's video when he was painting the painting of Nakamura, one thing he brought up that I didn't really think of is like Nakamura is kind of like an everyman kind of guy. When you see him in the ring with guys that are much bigger than the rest of us, he kind of looks a little bit more like us, And I mean, guys like Sami Zayn are also in that same category where I think, the average wrestling fan can get behind because it's you can associate with these guys. They look like a normal person, not Nakamura looking normal, but just in size and stature and the way that he has to kind of fight people. He definitely, plays a small man role with a lot of the bigger guys that he fights. And he definitely doesn't use strength as much as he uses his strikes and everything he does. I think those guys, just like Daniel Bryan, are just guys that are easier for, the normal every man wrestling fan to get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have something?
I was just going to say a second ago that there are a couple things that I can guarantee will happen for Nakamura's main roster debut. Hear in your mind Jerry Lawler say, "Who is that? Is that Shinsuke Nakamura? I think that's who it is." And then also at some point hearing the words, "He calls that move the blank." He calls that the...
It's not, what do they call it again? It's not the Bomaye, it's the
Kinshasa.
Kinshasa. Which is a direct reference to the same thing, going back to Muhammad Ali and all that, which is really cool still. But
it would be nice if they didn't have to introduce someone's debut as, "Who is that? Oh, it's this guy? Hey, this is what he calls his special move."
Which they've pretty much done with the Bullet Club. I'll get to those guys in a little bit. I've got another email, which is a little bit of a diversion, and then we'll circle back around, which I think takes us pretty nicely into Raw. Craig from Calgary writes, "So it was great meeting you guys in Dallas and having a couple beers. Really, really fun weekend at Mania. It was really random meeting Danny and Josh in line for food at Mania. Yes, it was really random. And catching Derek on the way out of Access. I have more of an idea that I'd like to share, and I'd like to hear your guys' feedback on it. With Harper and Wyatt being hurt, the little momentum that the Wyatts had after Mania is all but dead. I have an idea on what to do with them when they do return. So potentially we could get a series of vignettes. So we're going to the fantasy booking territory here. We get a series of vignettes like we had when they debuted for weeks leading up to their return. And they do return with Sister Abigail, as we've all been sort of talking about on and off over the past 2 years. Turns out Sister Abigail is Bayley. Now, before Daryl and Derek start swearing at me, hear me out.
Oh, what?
Why would you try to take away one of the few faces that we actually like?
I'm sorry. I zoned out for a second looking for Ray's tweet from earlier. Did you say that Bayley was going to be Sister Abigail in this scenario?
Bayley, wait, shut up, keep going. I want to hear this.
What's Awesome Kong up to? She can be Sister
So he says, on NXT prior to this, we see Bayley sort of acting weird and not being herself. Graves can chalk it up to, her getting frustrated losing the belt. She eventually shows up with the Wyatts in all black, brooding, angry, no smiles, the complete opposite of the Bayley that we know. If you guys have seen Jessica Jones, I think it would be good to have Bray hold some sort of a Kilgrave spell over Bayley and have her do his dirty work. But she also destroys the women's division and takes over. What snaps her out of her spell eventually is that she hospitalizes Sasha or Becky, and then, just as in Jessica Jones, she snaps out of the spell, turning on Bray and becoming the biggest face in the company. She brings back the wacky arm guys, bright colors, clapping, smiling, etc. I think it could be huge for her, and she wouldn't get lost in the shuffle necessarily.
No.
I will say...
Never bring back. I'll just say you can never bring back, if you ever do that, even if it's under some sort of spell complex, you can never bring back the wacky inflatable arm tube men. Like, that's dead at that point, which is a travesty.
And that's a very, very 90s storyline. That's pre-attitude type storyline.
It's Ministry of Darkness type stuff.
Yeah, it's very Ministry.
That's for sure.
I do like the idea of Bray coming back with Sister Abigail in tow. But maybe instead of Bayley, I've got another suggestion. What if, instead of Bayley, Sister Abigail was actually just Festus dressed in drag? Because, one, Festus, the fucker needs work, man. He has been out of work since he lost his position as part of the straight edge society. We haven't seen him since then. Right? And the whole storyline of him being under a trance could still work because we know he is susceptible to being in a trance.
So Bray just has to ring the bell and put him in a trance is what you're saying.
Yes.
Now, is he in drag or no?
Yes.
Oh, he's still in drag.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, you said that he's Sister Abigail?
Yeah, he's Sister Abigail. Festus.
Wow. Thanks for paying attention, Josh.
Jesus Christ. No, I just wanted to make sure because...
They could bring back his sweet music, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Biscuits and gravy!
Maybe a man.
Jesse, too, while you're at it.
Yeah, Jesse needs work.
Biscuits and gravy! Maybe a man! Oh, biscuits and gravy!
Oh, dear God. What has happened to this podcast?
Did Bryan have that queued up, ready to go?
No, Josh was doing it.
Yeah, I did that.
Oh, my God.
Oh, goodness. I completely lost track of where we were.
Yeah, we were talking about
Oh!
reasonable...
Okay, so actually this kind of brings us back. So coming full circle back around to Jose's second question, he writes, with the arrival of Gallows and Anderson, do you guys think that they will be massively pushed along with AJ, in parentheses now, and or Finn Balor? And do you think that they'll, or do you think that they will only be used to continue to make Roman Reigns look strong? I kind of like his wording on that second part of that question, but I don't know. I think it's a legitimate concern.
I've been stuck with this storyline idea in my head that the Gallows and Anderson duo is going to actually turn on AJ this Sunday and align themselves with Roman Reigns. And that has made me just skeptical of anything I can see happening going forward.
It's one of those things where like the lines that they've had backstage have just been like so over the top. I love you, you're my friend type of thing. Like it's like I don't know if I trust this.
Right. Yeah, plus, there's the way that they left when I don't expect WWE to have continuity between New Japan storylines and WWE, but for those of you that don't know, the Bullet Club beat the shit out of AJ on his final night in New Japan. So, as far as that goes, if they did want to actually incorporate the true history of their relationship, that could be a great way to lead why they turn on AJ if that's what they're going to do at the pay-per-view.
Right.
Yeah, I think I know something fishy's happening. They're not siding with AJ. I just don't see it with like Josh said, how corny their lines were and
how
corny.
Like
over the top it was.
Literally this past Monday, I think it was Carl Anderson that said this, but he literally said this to AJ Styles after their match with the Usos. Said, this friendship of ours is forever, brother. Like, really?
Yes. Forever.
It wasn't even that. It wasn't even for life or anything. This friendship of ours is forever. Who says that? Who says that? Like,
right?
I consider
was the guy who said that NWO Wolfpack wasn't for life, they were forever.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, you brought that together. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no shit, right?
That's why I said it with a really bad Mexican accent. I remember Conan saying that, but I could be wrong.
I'm sorry for not recognizing that you were trying to channel Conan there.
I just heard the Sandlot in my head.
Forever.
Yeah.
So, but I think they're turning on AJ. I just don't know if it's to side with Roman or if there's something with Finn or somebody else. The one thing that was I found was they had GB Forever.
BG.
BG.
Yeah, it was BG.
No, it was. I thought it was GB, the Good Brothers.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too. The Good Brothers.
GB for life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Brothers for Life was what it was, and it makes me wonder. Roman Reigns is all about his Usos or whatever the hell they are. Like something fishy's going on, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was Reigns. But then I saw somebody photoshopped an image where it was Roman Reigns and Gallows and Anderson versus a reformed Shield of AJ, Rollins, and Ambrose.
Oh.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
That
totally.
does sound fun.
And all of that, but like if they deal with this AJ, like just speaking to the Bullet Club angle, if they deal with the AJ Anderson Gallows thing now, then it still allows them to do it again when Finn Balor comes up to the main roster. You know, like they can toy with it again, they can tease it again, or they can fully commit to it and have, you know, Finn join them, and that'll get Finn past that call-up blues, you know? Like right now, they're doing a great job with Enzo and Cass and, you know, the Vaudevillain, because they've interjected them immediately into a tournament upon the call-up. And not only that, but they've had them succeed and move on to the finals. Neither team is going to look weak based on the fact that they both made it to the finals. Whichever team wins is going to have a major push, which I'm guessing is going to be Enzo and Cass, but they don't even need it. Like, it would make more sense to give it to the Vaudevillains because the Vaudevillains need that bigger push right now, whereas Enzo and Cass are completely over. So
I wouldn't be shocked if that ends in some sort of dusty finish where we end up getting a three
match. Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. But my point being that they did such a successful job with the call-ups on both of them because they got them right into something. And it wasn't some lame something. It was something real, you know. And they could easily do the same thing with Finn if they handle this situation with AJ and the Bullet Club right.
And I'm going to go back to the previous point made in the email talking about, you know, respect for Japan and all that. Like, just the fact that we're talking about the impact that New Japan storylines and factions are now having on really the main event picture of WWE. We're talking about AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns. We're not just talking about AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns. We're talking about AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns with his Bullet Club buddies in the background. And we're talking about the possibilities of the Bullet Club buddies siding with the new leader of, you know, the previous leader of the Bullet Club, and eventually he'll make a debut, possibly sooner than later. You know, we saw that, you know, he lost to Samoa Joe on the house show, and like it just opens the door. Like there's all this stuff happening, and it's a lot of it circles around New Japan Pro Wrestling without directly calling out NJPW. Like it's what it's all about right now. And like people like us are kind of freaking out. Other people are sort of learning a little bit. Like it's in our faces though, regardless.
Absolutely. And Nakamura, you know, that's another point that you didn't bring up, but like Nakamura, obviously, yeah, like one of New Japan's biggest stars. We're worried about how they're going to handle him, but so far they've done exactly what they've needed to in NXT, which is allow him to be himself and not change his character, not fuck him up. The exact same thing with Gallows and Anderson. They didn't change them. They didn't change their names. They actually were smart in a business sense of utilizing a character that's already been created and already exists that people are going to attach onto and be familiar with, and they brought him into their product, and they brought him in a successful way. Even the integration of these guys has been smart because the announcers constantly refer to New Japan. Like, they don't shy away from it. It's not a dirty word for the announcers like some of the other shit that they're not allowed to say. It's something that they are fully allowed to talk about and discuss and bring around as a point. I think all of that definitely helps to make, going back to the point about Nakamura, I think it helps to make his debut even more significant because it's not going to be a new concept to WWE fans that these guys are coming in from New Japan. It's going to be right up there with Gallows and Anderson and AJ and Nakamura. It's going to be a continuation of the talent that we've seen come in. And it's really exciting, for guys like us that have watched New Japan for years. It's fun, and it makes sense because these guys are the reason why we were watching New Japan, for all these years, and now to bring them over to WWE is a really just fun thing. It's amazing. It's been the first time that it's felt like WWE has had, an influx of talent from a competitor that was on the same level as them.
Yes, 100%, dude. Yeah, and just the little things like so. Anderson and Gallows debuted in ring, on Monday night against the Usos, and they legitimately had at least until the singing popped in, the music was very Bullet Club inspired, and the ring gear that they had with the black and white and some of the logos and all that stuff, their Titantron, just everything about it was very Bullet Club-ish. Yep. It was cool to hear the crowd, too, literally chanting Bullet Club during Monday Night Raw, as well as a New Day-inspired "Ooh, so suck." It was again, it was one of those crowds, but I think it's starting to become more the norm. It's not just Chicago. It's not just Philadelphia. This was Hartford, so it was still a smarter wrestling territory, if you will.
Right.
But this sort of thing has become more commonplace, and as more and more crowds start to solidify this type of chant and this type of thing, you'll end up in a place like Atlanta. Sorry for throwing Atlanta under the bus constantly, but it's easy. They'll
Which of the Dakotas do we hate again? Is it North Dakota, South Dakota?
South, both.
Yeah, just say South Dakota, Josh.
Just
all
Dakota.
Right. Yeah, or Oklahoma for Brian's sake.
Fuck Oklahoma. When did we start hating the Dakotas?
But you'll end up in all of those. You'll end up in all of those towns, and it's not just, oh, hey, now they're cheering on Cena and Roman Reigns. You might get a little bit more of the crowd besides the women and children. But, it's the fan base is evolving and changing as well. And some of it may be just sort of a me too, hey, that's kind of cool. I want to be cool, so I'm going to chant those things and cheer for these guys. But regardless, whatever it is, that's the way it happens.
There's always the exception to the rule, but I kind of feel like one of the main problems, and I joked about this with DeRosa today, but it's like if all you are limited to doing is throwing your arms up in the air and cheering and getting the crowd to yell with you, then they make you a face. But if you're more of a complex character, that you have more to you, you have more abilities to talk on the mic, you have more abilities to do stuff, they make you a heel. So it's kind of hard in this day and age with so many one-dimensional faces to root for guys like the Usos and Roman Reigns and, guys that come out and their just whole shtick is I love Apollo Crews, but even his current character is just Apollo Crews.
The worst.
And so again, it's right in that same category of guys that don't really have much going on, and maybe it's because they're a good guy, they're a babyface, that they just don't see the need to develop their character much more beyond that. But they should be giving everyone layers and
they can, and I think certain guys are. I'm just kind of looking up and down the card of what we're going to see.
Ambrose is a perfect example.
Dean Ambrose, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, he was one of those guys that all of us were shocked that they decided to make a face, And it was a good decision. You know, It was a very good decision. I'm glad that they went in that direction. But he's the exception to the rule. The majority of their faces, aside from that, are very one-dimensional characters. You know,
Right.
That's why he gains all of those the comparisons to guys like Pillman and Stone Cold and this and that. Like, if it was a face who could talk and act and be crazy at times, then Ambrose gets drawn a comparison to them. You know, Foley, Austin, Pillman. But these are all guys that were like really good faces at one point, with the exception of Pillman. He was always kind of a heel, but it just in general, these were really talented wrestlers that could not only go in the ring but had great like psychology on the mic and could act fucking insane.
What's interesting about all those guys you mentioned is like they're baby faces, but obviously they're not the prototypical baby face who just comes out there and is going to save the day and raise their arm and everybody's going to cheer with them. Stone Cold was never really that. Looking at like some of the other faces we have on the roster, like Enzo and Cass, like they don't really act like faces. They act like kind of dickbag heels, but everybody gets behind them because of who they're going after and the way that they say certain things. The New Day,
Cass and I had a dime for every time we got beat up when we were kids. We would have 0 dimes. That's one of my favorite lines that I've ever heard. Like the shit that comes out of Enzo's mouth.
Yes, dude.
I know we touched on it, but it's like every fucking week it's something new.
Yeah.
You're truly Jordan of
Well,
Jordan.
and possibly even better than the New Day. They have a lot of potential, and the New Day is another one where they're pretty much in a face territory right now. But if Enzo and Cass end up winning this Sunday, like depending on the way that the New Day reacts and what they do and how they do it in their next promo on Monday, like they could be as heelish as the next guys on the roster, just like that. And it doesn't really take that much of a turn in their personalities. It just means, who they're going up against and, to what degree that they're taking their heelishness, whether people are going to cheer it or not. Another interesting one, like Cesaro. Like, what the hell's been happening with Cesaro lately? Like, that's just to me, it's been a really interesting character study of sorts. Seeing Cesaro come out and, like, I don't know, like there's something about him, like he carries a certain energy, like which is again, I think it's just a little bit different from the prototypical babyface, not in the same way as Enzo and Cass or Ambrose or the New Day. Like he's kind of got his own thing going on. So like they're trying. I have to give them credit for trying these things. You might help.
WWE has not historically been very favorable to foreign guys. Like foreign guys have always played a certain heel role in some way, shape, or form. I always joke around it, but Cesaro's character that they pitched around at one point was basically what he is now, but his secret was that his wealth came from Nazi gold. God. Yeah, like some of the shit
back in the Indies, right?
What's that? No, that was a WWE proposed storyline at one point, that he was going to be he was going to be a heel, and he was going to be like an arrogant European character that came from wealth, and it was going to be investigated into and eventually determined that his wealth came from like Nazi gold, and that his ancestors or his family was of Nazi descent, and that he was like a Nazi sympathizer, and he was going to because he's Swiss, and there was going to be all these connections to him being Swiss and Nazi connections and all this stuff, and it obvious for obvious reasons it was never done. Sure. But it definitely sounded like something that they would have done like in the late 90s for sure, and done unapologetically.
I think what you were trying to say. What Derek was trying to say is that Vince clearly has not run out of good ideas.
Clearly. He's still got some good ones rattling around.
Fuck yeah, man. That was... That idea was as good as Nazi gold.
Which is very, very good for those of you that don't know. It's worth a lot of money.
Would you say that idea is worth its weight in Nazi gold?
I would say that it is.
Would you call it a Nazi golden idea?
Alas, they did not do it.
Do you think the merchandise sales from that idea would be the goose that lays the Nazi golden eggs?
Get your little necklace filled with Jew gold.
They did not see how that was best for business.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah, Jared. I'm going to give you an internet
Jared.
fist bump for that one. That one was good, buddy.
That was solid. That's not even a hashtag Jared joke. That's like a real joke.
Oh my goodness.
Hashtag puns that are better than most of Jared's other jokes.
All right, back on track. No, I will say though that overall Cesaro's character is just completely like opposite of the norm, opposite of what we'd expect from them, because he's foreign, so obviously he's a bad guy. I'll also say, speaking to the whole foreign thing, I was glad this week to see the League of Nations guys all get their own due, but then I was also kind of glad to hear Michael Cole reference that they were still together. Which
did he say that?
Yes, he did. He talked about the League.
Yeah.
No, they were all billed as League of Nations members throughout the whole show.
That, to me, that's a little reassuring because, as I think Jared's referring to, like there have been like actual statements made, referencing their split. Right.
Del Rio said it, and you might want to pay attention to SmackDown.
Okay. Man, that kind of bums me out. I mean, like, I honestly, so the League of Nations, like, I feel like it really made all those guys a little bit stronger and solidified as villains. Del Rio, Sheamus, and Rusev, like, they were all essentially, at the very least, they were all at, like, mini-boss level. Like, they're all, like, legitimate bad guys who you should be at least a little bit afraid of. And, they may not be the top dog, but, like, look out. They could elevate at any moment.
They'll cost you some lives.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. That's where they were. I'm a little skeptical about splitting them up.
They didn't need to be full in with them like they were. I think that was where those particular guys lost their identities. And the problem is those guys didn't have an identity problem. Del Rio, Rusev, like even Wade Barrett, but all right, just leaving him out. The three guys, they all had good identities. Sheamus, they all have good, characters that have been developed. So they didn't need to have them all have the same music and come out together all the time. They merely just need to have them, have each other's back. And then that way, when they randomly need a trio to take on another trio for a 6-man tag, they can call on them, and it'll make sense why the three of them are together. They can have them interfere in each other's matches when they need that to happen. But otherwise, they could keep them as separate entities, as we saw on Raw, and it would work out just fine. But I'm guessing they broke them up, and I at the very least, if something happened on SmackDown or whatever, it gives them some sort of closure. I was more thinking on Raw for a period of time that they were getting, just the Shane McMahon Undertaker treatment, which is like, oh, we just decided to move on this Monday, and we're just doing something different. I was glad to see all three of them get their individual entrances, because I really do feel like the whole League of Nations thing somewhat made them lose their identities as being, significant superstars. But I also agree with Josh that the three of them together were very formidable, and I don't think that you needed to break them up. Like, not everything needs to come to an end. Maybe you could just have them as a, like, hey, we're just friends now.
Yeah.
We're not going to wear T-shirts and come out together into the same music, but we'll still get each other's back in certain scenarios and whatnot.
Totally. Like to me, this week it worked, but unless they go and come up with something new and interesting for each of them individually, 3 months later, if we end up getting Sheamus and Rusev, and hell, if we end up getting Del Rio in a main event again, like, are we really going to be like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense? I'm questionable. Like for now, this week it worked. It was cool. We got AJ Styles and Sheamus in the ring together to open up Raw, and it was cool. It was fun. We had Roman Reigns and Alberto Del Rio as the main event, which I really enjoyed a decent amount. And then Rusev versus Sami Zayn, like across the board, like it was rock solid action. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I think Rusev in general is being held back by the group. I think that, things like that are part of the problem with that group because they weren't handling the League of Nations properly. They easily could have made them, like you give them some more wins, you give them a title, you give them this, you give them that. I mean, shit, you're literally not doing anything with the U.S. title. I don't even know who the fucking U.S. title champion is. I don't need anybody to explain it to me because I don't fucking care. The belt's been made insignificant by whoever the fucking dickhead is that's holding it. But regardless, they could have put that on one of the guys in the League of Nations, and it would have completely changed the dynamic of that group.
The problem is that they were set to feud with the Wyatts for a little bit, and then Bray got hurt. Right. And that's really what this is all a result of. They had nothing,
that's a good point.
They had nothing to do with them now as a group. They didn't want to just kind of keep them loosely together, so.
But they don't need to. That's my point, though, is that not every faction needs to break up when they're done. Like you could just have them loosely be affiliated with each other. But I mean, again, if all you do is just move on and have Lillian or whoever the announcer is every once in a while still say like League of Nations member Rusev, Sheamus, whatever, people will still. Hold that connection, and they'll still feel like they're together. You don't need to just because the.
Derek?
Oh, we lost Derek mid-thought.
Oh, well, I'm going to jump in. Anyway, what they're going to do is they're breaking it up to set up a feud between two of them, and then one guy's going to go off. That's really what they're going to end up doing, is because they don't have time to get each one of them into new feuds on the roster. There's not 3 more spots open. There's maybe 2. So you take where they were supposed to slot with the Wyatts, and then you slot somebody in with somebody else. Like, whichever one floats off, say it's Rusev, he gets into some feud. Maybe it is for the U.S. title, and he gets that back. Or something like that. They didn't have a way to get all 3 of them off into separate, decent feuds right now.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it's just a scheduling thing. I think it's just an amount of time they have.
Yeah, that's why I would have preferred to just sort of see them continue as they were doing, and eventually they'll they split off and have their decent matches, but overall there's a glue that holds them together, and it at least makes them somewhat relevant because at any point. One of them could be elevated and the other 2 will have their back, or like 2 of them could split off and go after the tag team belts, or just something, like there was something there. And
it just comes down to amount of screen time there's available. They want all 3 of them still involved. I think it's just a logistics issue of why you split them and cause something to go between them than anything like that. I don't think it's a they don't want to keep something like that going. It's they need to keep them on, but they only have a certain amount of time.
If they could keep booking them the way that they did this week, it can work out. If in another 2 months we end up getting Randy Orton back and we have Randy Orton versus Sheamus again, or Randy Orton versus Del Rio as a match at all, like that's gonna be hard to swallow.
But to use them like they used them this week, they were basically filler opponents for guys who were already in established feuds. Yeah. And that's the problem is they wouldn't get established feuds, and then we'd be like, well, they're just throwing them in there as,
But they could have. Again, yes, I know. Like, maybe it would have been a little different with the Wyatt family. Side note, by the way, the Payback, the posters and everything, like, was all the commercials that they originally filmed, everything was, like, all about the Wyatt family, and it's kind of a shame that they had to throw it all away, because it looked really cool, but whatever. All right.
Even going into last week, Raw, you didn't really have a setup for a Wyatt. You didn't really have them set up a Wyatt match at Payback anyways. So they were they weren't gonna be a huge focus. They were gonna have a match set up this week.
I mean, it could have been, like, depending on how it went. When Bray Wyatt was main eventing Raw, like, there was a decent amount of steam behind that, and they could have kept going, but, stuff happened. I kind of want to shift a little bit of focus back to the Roman Reigns Del Rio match, I guess, a little bit. Going into that, after we saw Anderson and Gallows beat the crap out of the Usos earlier. Completely fair match. The Usos lost, and then the Usos got beat down completely fairly, too. And you know what? Maybe it was kind of a dick move to beat them down, but it was a 2-on-2 beatdown. Roman Reigns came out to make the save. Whatever. Later on, we had Roman Reigns versus Del Rio. Before that, Reigns making sort of dickbag comments to AJ Styles. I guess you bought front row seats for Gallows and Anderson. Essentially, downplaying the fact that AJ Styles is a legitimate number one contender, which just makes people like us hate him even more, and people who actually like Roman, I don't know, whatever. I don't try to relate to those people too much because they're in a different place than me.
Buy posters and put them up over their beds and jerk off to them.
Oh, fuck that shit. But overall, I'm with the crowd. We had a fair amount of Roman sucks chants and that sort of thing. I thought both of these guys looked pretty good in this match, particularly Del Rio, because he held his own pretty well against Roman Reigns, and arguably was in. If this was a championship match, he was in contention for the title at least a couple of times until he made the foolish mistake of trying to use his double foot stomp on Roman Reigns' protective vest.
Awful, stupid finishing move that was horrible.
And it's even worse when he tries to do it against Roman Reigns, who's wearing a protective vest. A protective vest! He's still wearing the damn thing. Ugh, hate it. Anyways.
He's such a goddamn cheater. Can we talk about him being a cheater, or we talked about that? No.
Have we
covered it?
Yeah, we've
Did we
covered
make the
that.
D-Lo? Did you make the D-Lo reference?
Yes, he's D'Lo Brown, but possibly worse.
Yes, he's worse. He's the fucking champion, for fuck's sake. D'Lo was just European champion at best.
And,
what the fuck is going on?
And you know what? No, I guess what makes this worse is the fact that nobody but people like us are talking about the vest, because
No, Stone Cold Steve Austin brought it up on his podcast.
Oh, thank God. I didn't catch that.
It.
That's awesome.
Yes, apparently Stone Cold brought up, he called out Roman Reigns' protective vest on the podcast this week, and our buddy Craig, who wrote in, also commented that Sam from the Sam Roberts podcast also is a big hater of the Roman Reigns vest. So we're not alone. Other people are noticing the cheating that's
people like us that essentially look at Roman Reigns and are just like, look at that little bitch. Like, the vest, it drives me nuts.
Such a cheating bitch, isn't he? Oh, you little bitch. Fucking Roman Reigns. You'd still kick my ass with or without the vest, but I'm just saying, in general, you're a bitch. And just like that Key and Peele's fucking sketch, I'm going to run 100 miles and hide in that.
I said,
Yes. But I like the way that Raw went off the air. The whole beatdown after the match. With Anderson and Gallows coming into the ring, AJ stopping them, Roman Reigns being a jerk and attacking AJ anyways. I guess he wasn't paying attention, but really it doesn't matter. He would have done it anyways. But ultimately AJ Styles getting, the last punch in, or the last forearm or elbow or whatever that's supposed to be. The whole thing played really well and got me just really excited about, the interactions between all of these players in the main event at Payback, because a lot of different things can happen and I don't know which way they're going to go, and that's kind of the point.
It's exciting, right? I mean, that's I think one of the things that has contributed to Raw being good each week since Mania has been one of the things I've harped on a whole bunch, which is the, ending Raw with something that makes you want to come back and see it next week. Yeah, it's not as good as it was at one point where it's a whole lot of intrigue and mystery. It's definitely not soap opera level of storyline telling. But what it is, seeing AJ win the number one contendership, at the Raw after Mania, and then seeing the direction it's gone since then, seeing what they do at the end of episode each week has been interesting, and it's made you want to catch what happens the next week. This developing storyline with the Bullet Club was really well laid out, even though it was kind of on a short time frame. It was well laid out, and what ended the night on Raw was the cherry on top. It truly made you feel like that phenomenal forearm off the rope just cemented that feeling that AJ is aligned, with Gallows and Anderson. I think that they played it very well. I think it was done very well, and I think that they're going to have an interesting storyline regardless of what happens at Payback. Even if they just play it straight up and have AJ in fact aligned with Anderson and Gallows, that's cool too. Like, just the storyline we're being given alone is awesome. But if they decide to give us the swerve and go in a different direction, that's pretty awesome too. Even if Anderson and Gallows doesn't align with Reigns, I think them turning on AJ could definitely be an intriguing storyline, and could lead to the whole Finn AJ confrontation, which we've never really seen. So it's going to be fun to see the direction that they go.
Man, that's cool. That's cool to think about.
There's a lot of cool shit to think about. I think that's the funnest thing about. Excuse me for using the word funnest, but that is the most fun thing about.
It's the most funnest.
It's the most funnest thingest ever that they are. Just all the shit they have going on. Like, look at how fucking amazing the tag division is right now. Anderson and Gallows weren't even part of this tag division tournament, and they already did a great job of filling the tournament out with tag teams that made sense and have been established. Then you add in the fact that you have those guys add into the mix. You also have the tag team eventually of Gable and Jordan that are going to come up. You also have the tag team of TMDK, and other tag teams that they've established in NXT. It's going to be fun. And I mean, there's no real need, I think, to break tag teams up because they've had success and have, guys move into singles competition. I think tag teams are fun, and they can focus on it and have some guys, like Enzo and Cass. I don't ever want to see Enzo and Cass break up and then fight each other. Bless you. I want to see them be friends and tag partners forever. And I think that, that's something that WWE commonly does, where they break up all their tag teams. But, the tag team division's exciting. And, the dream matches that we have in the singles division coming up are exciting. There's a lot of cool shit. I mean, thinking about Samoa Joe facing John Cena, or thinking about Finn Balor facing Randy Orton, those are matches that are exciting to think about as being marquee matchups that we've never gotten to see, and that really sound like some sort of crazy, fabricated, I made a creator wrestler on WWE 2K and had it play out this way. But in reality, it's what's going on with the roster right now. So the future is bright, and it's happening now. Like, it's not taking a long time to get here. By 2017, I think WWE will have easily the most exciting roster in wrestling anywhere in the world. It's not happening now. It definitely isn't happening in 2015 or leading up to WrestleMania, but the future is amazingly bright. I know, that's why I'm saying the future is going to be bright. I said it's not happening. It didn't happen in 2015. Oh. It definitely wasn't the most exciting wrestling you could find in 2015. New Japan Pro Wrestling was far above and beyond what they were doing in WWE in 2015.
Heading into WrestleMania 33 in Orlando next year, yeah, they could be.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned things like looking at these like dream match scenarios, stuff that we've seen on the indies, like Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, for example, entering into a new chapter. Like, I'm so hyped for that match this Sunday and seeing where it goes from there, because I'm looking at that, I'm like, dude, this is only the first chapter of their WWE story. Is
that not the best story that they've possibly ever told in WWE? Like, I know that we're just at the beginning of it. Like you said, we're just in chapter 1, and I know, like, I'm getting ahead of myself with it, but I feel already the fact that they had the history outside of WWE, plus what they've had in NXT, and now what they've had leading up to now, it's been amazingly well told, better than anything else they're doing with storyline.
And I think it's unfair to say this is chapter 1. This is chapter 1 on the main roster, maybe, but really you can say NXT was their WWE chapter 1, and really this feud is in chapter probably 20. And
they're doing a good job of showing that too with the video packages.
They're not even tapping into their actual old footage. They're just showing a couple of old pictures. But the fact is that the story is there. That's what makes it so authentic. That's what makes the rivalry seem so legitimate and real. They really have known each other for all this time. And they've feuded against each other pretty much everywhere they've gone. So despite partners, that's bullshit. But that's why they work so well, face and heel. They know each other inside and out, and it makes for them to not only have the verbal rivalry come off so well, but when they put on matches together, watch out.
Yeah. Gosh, there's some stuff I'm
package though. The video package. How cool was that?
That was cool.
Seriously.
I kind of want to just run through a couple minor little things, like things that I thought was cool throughout Raw, and then I'd like to run into just do a breakdown of the Payback card and do some predictions. Since we're talking about this match, I thought it was really cool how Sami Zayn got the roll-up type of win over Rusev. It doesn't necessarily make Rusev look weak. Doesn't necessarily make Sami Zayn look weak either. They both looked at least relatively strong coming out of that. I got a kick out of Lana literally throwing her shoe at Sami Zayn. I don't know if you guys caught that, but
oh yeah, I fucking caught that
right
shit.
Before the Kevin Owens sneak attack.
What kind of question is that?
Lana's back, man.
Catch Lana taking off her shoes. What the fuck is wrong with you? Of course I caught Lana taking off her shoes, John.
Jesus Christ, Eric.
I take offense to that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry for yelling.
Okay.
I did like Stone Cold Sami Zayn afterwards flipping off Lana and flipping off Rusev. I found that to be very, very endearing.
I missed that until the internet pointed it out later, which was awesome.
Yes. I was surprised because apparently it got edited out on UK television much more than it did here. There was no editing it out here. It was fully on display, including not only the flipping off of Lana, but then just a random flipping off of Rusev a couple of seconds later, which I found really, for some reason, to be my favorite part. I was like, I don't know why, but the just, fuck you and fuck you too kind of thing about it. It was great.
Totally. The Dean Ambrose promo that we mentioned before, it was a solid promo, literally just proclaiming himself without saying that he's the working man, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say. That's pretty much the promo he was delivering. And Jericho coming out, playing his current role of being the pompous jackass who's too good for everyone. This whole thing is just really, really good, and I think it's going to do a lot of good for Dean Ambrose. Ultimately, the whole segment ended with the walls of Jericho on the announce table, which is always one of those things. You put a guy in a submission on the announce table, Michael Cole starts freaking out like an idiot. But what made this whole thing the best was just Jericho yelling. Before this, he was yelling at Hartford, calling everyone idiots. His new thing, these days, he's gone away from, the big dictionary words to, playground insults. He'll just come out there and just, his favorite phrase these days seems to be "stupid idiot." You stupid idiot. He's got Dean Ambrose in the walls of Jericho on the announce table, and he's literally turning back and yelling at Dean and just being like, "This is what you get, you idiot, you stupid idiot." I don't know. It has me absolutely dying. I know my brother has the same reaction. It's so good. He's so good right now.
It's so good.
It reminds me of what he was doing with Dean Malenko back in WCW.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it really
nothing's that good, but yes, definitely. Yeah. It's on the same level.
It's the trolling heel Jericho. It's very similar. That's actually a very good point, Jared.
God, that just brought back memories of him fucking. There was one time where he gave this speech that was like, "You say you're the man of 1,000 moves, but I went back and watched the tape, and I only counted like 60." Awesome. Yeah.
So good.
That's when he proclaimed himself to be the man of 1,004 moves. But
so good.
Jericho, I thought that his work with AJ was definitely some of the best work we've seen out of him since his return. And he's only getting better. Like, I was really thrilled to see him involved with the whole, main title #1 contender picture. I thought he deserved that. And honestly, WWE with the absence of like John Cena and Randy Orton, they don't really have a veteran presence to throw in there in a match when they have a bunch of young guys going for the #1 contendership. So not only is Jericho really gifted in the ring and he does what he does so well, but he gave them that veteran presence. And it's legitimized these younger guys. Working with AJ, working with Dean, it only helps to legitimize it. And I honestly thought it was kind of cool that he even brought that up in his promo. Like, at one point he even said that, like, I'm brought in to make talent look better and stuff like that. And
I'm elevating you is what I think he's
elevating. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. And it's kind of true. Like, it's not. It wasn't a lie. It was a straight up fact. I think that Jericho is doing his best work though right now, and it's awesome to see him, tangling with the WWE's like newest hottest stars. It makes all the sense in the world. So he's been awesome, and this is going to be a good match with nothing on the line. There's nothing to this other than both guys want to be the best talk show host in the world. So yeah. It's kind of fun to see them, put together a program so quickly that I'm so interested in.
And I'm glad that they can have a feud like this and not have to like bring Jerry Springer in to guest referee or something. Like, it's perfect just standing on its own with what it is.
If only Piper was still around.
Oh my goodness, that would actually be kind of cool.
No shit, right? I have faith in Dr. Phil now, so I'm okay if they want to bring him.
I mean, would it be wrong to ask Roddy Piper if he would be my Katie Vick?
Yes, it would be wrong.
Yeah, that's very wrong.
I'm so glad that you stayed silent for so long, Brian, and that's what you decided to chime in with.
Oh, no shit.
Guys, basically been asleep for 20 minutes and chiming in.
Unfollow Guitar Salad.
We call that a callback.
It's something. That's what that is. All right. There's a couple other things, but I think we could address them if we want during the Payback predictions. So I'm just gonna roll in from the pre-show match. We have, as Derek sort of alluded to earlier, the United States Championship.
Got a dick hanging from the back of his mask.
Yeah, Kalisto's defending against Ryback.
Moving on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, out of everything that they've done, I can look up and down this whole card and be like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that. This is one glaring exception, which I guess is why they put it on the pre-show. But Jesus Christ, Kalisto versus Ryback, like, nobody gave a shit at the pre-show at WrestleMania. They've done nothing to make us give a shit since then. And hey, now they're doing the pre-show again.
So
not only that, but they even keep their rivalry on pre-shows. Like, I don't even fucking see them. Like, when are they even discussing this match?
Totally.
And I'm hoping that everybody can agree with me now that Kalisto sucks dick. Like, everybody can agree with me now that he's the worst.
No, he's amazing. I love him.
You fucking bastard. You only say that because he follows you, and he only follows you to spite me.
He follows me because I tweeted a picture of you booing him furiously, and that's what makes him so great. That's what makes him the best fucking wrestler in the company.
The fact that he's willing to follow Bryan because Bryan tweeted that actually makes me like him more.
God damn it, Jared. No.
What's Kalisto's Twitter handle?
Trolling Derek's
WWE.
extra points.
Hey, everybody follow at Kalisto WWE.
And at Guitar Salad, let's be honest.
What is this bullshit? I'm not going to stand for this Kalisto.
Does anybody, including Derek, think that Ryback beats Kalisto?
Yes, I do think Ryback is going to be Kalisto. Yes, I do.
Does anybody else think this?
I'm going to be holding a little Ryback doll, and I'm going to be cheering.
You do have a Ryback doll. Who was
essentially... us all pee.
Yeah.
You watched us all pee.
He was essentially our representative of Jared because it looks kind of like Jared in Dallas.
What?
So what does that make you think that we think of you, Jared, that we put you in the bathroom and made you watch us pee all weekend long, and that's...
It's kind of
comforting. You got me confused with Bryan.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't deny watching people
Bryan's alley.
Jared, Bryan, do either of you guys think that Ryback wins on Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Bryan.
No, I'm all Kalisto. Like, honestly, like, Ryback sucks so bad, even Kalisto is better than him.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take the belt off Kalisto, put it on Ryback for a couple of weeks, so he loses it to a face.
Logically, that makes sense, but I'm on Team Kalisto. Fuck you guys.
You're dead.
I'm on Team I really don't give a shit, but that's the one that makes logical sense.
I know. All right. So I'm on Team Kalisto. Fuck you, Derek.
Dead to me, Josh.
All right. Next match. That's kind of meaningless, but I'd say at least Raw this week made me give at least a little bit of a shit. Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. Seeing Baron Corbin just dismantle Dolph Ziggler lately, and then ultimately this week, Dolph Ziggler completely, punking Corbin. I thought it was a good segment on Raw, and to that end, I'm at least a little bit excited for this match. It's pretty much at the bottom of this card, not counting the Kalisto Ryback thing. And
hey, Damien Sandow has been found. Ladies and gentlemen, they found Damien Sandow.
Yeah, we got to hear a little bit of his music. That was something.
Featured for 12 seconds on Raw.
I was told from one of our previous emailers who attended Raw that essentially the crowd was really hot for Sandow during the whole thing, and they weren't paying a ton of attention to the fight between Ziggler and Corbin. I don't think that really came through on TV, which is okay because... I don't know. The Ziggler-Corbin thing was obviously the point, and I don't hate the existence of this match. I guess that's the worst thing I could say about it.
Since we're on the topic, I will say that I do hate the audience or the crowd's constant need to detract away from what's going on to chant about something else. Like you said, it didn't come across for this match, but we've heard it a whole bunch, and one things I saw a tweet about that made the most sense to me was them tweeting or chanting about "We want Sasha" during others women's matches.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of the shitty, worst kind of behavior. I just wanted to take a moment to say, don't do that. People like Emma and Natalia deserve our respect at least enough to not chant for some other bullshit during their match, which was actually pretty decent, and I'll give Natalia all the credit in the world. She's looked adorable lately, and she's been badass, and even if she doesn't get the title, she at least deserves this run as a number one contender, and she deserves a chance to be featured like she has been. So, I don't know, it's kind of shitty when you see that happen, especially when it's there's not bad things happening.
Yeah, totally.
I understand if they give you some dog shit that you want to
if it's Brie Bella versus Lana or anyone versus Eva Marie,
or
I get
it versus Summer Rae.
Right.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah, any Samoan versus Summer Rae in any
way,
shape or
hey, what?
I'm just saying.
Nonsense.
That's a decent.
That might be the only match that Summer Rae wins.
You guys. All right, so breaking down the rest of this card. Oh, actually, I guess Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. Does anybody think Dolph Ziggler wins?
No.
No.
Okay, good. I think we're all on the same page. The number one contender match for the tag team championship: Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy versus the Vaudevillains.
Oof.
This is a tough one to call, I think.
Tough.
I think I said it earlier. It's a dusty finish, and we go into a three-way tag team title match.
I don't hate that.
I think with the reception that Enzo and Cass have received, they get the push.
I think that makes sense, but gosh, that puts the Vaudevillains in a really tough spot of getting over because I think they have overcome a big challenge. I think putting the Vaudevillains on the main roster has been a big challenge, and I think they've done a decent job thus far. You take them out of that so quickly, oh, that's tough, man.
Yeah, I think if anything, if it's going to be a clean finish, Enzo and Cass are going to lose because they can still fall back into a program with the Dudleys.
Yeah.
Whereas the Vaudevillains could use the New Day rub.
And it puts Enzo and Cass back into the familiar seat of being on the chase because that's what they were the entire time they were in NXT and they never got it. So for people like us, that's still building. Yeah, you know what? I've talked to myself. The dusty finish isn't the worst idea, and I do think that is quite plausible. But I'm going with the Vaudevillains as my pick.
Yeah, I'm switching. You've convinced me. I'm going to go Vaudevillains as well. I think that makes actually all the sense in the world.
Which is why Enzo and Cass are going to win.
I actually think I talked myself out of the dusty finish and into the Vaudevillains.
Brian?
I stand in opposition by selecting Enzo and Big Cass.
Just to be contrarian?
Yeah, just to be contrarian.
Fair enough. The WWE Women's Championship, that sounds so good to say nowadays.
Doesn't it?
No shit.
WWE Women's
Rest in
Championship.
peace, butterfly belt.
Yeah, hashtag butterfly belt.
Rot in hell, butterfly belts.
Charlotte with Ric Flair in her corner versus Natalya with Bret Hart in her corner. This is a rematch of something we actually saw down in NXT. Now on the main roster. Now with a little bit more behind it. Again, with the Women's Championship kind of establishing the significance of this title and who's going after it with, two of the best ever standing ringside. Like I think that kind of helps this whole thing, at least for those who aren't, who weren't previously necessarily big women's wrestling fans. I feel like that's starting to shift a little bit, which is cool. But
see, I feel like the whole having to have Flair and Bret, who has gone on record now saying he doesn't really want to be there, but he's going for Natty, it's almost fine. Like you've just created this WWE Women's title belt, and now you're saying, well, these girls aren't getting enough attention on their own, so we need their dad and uncle.
I don't think that's necessarily what they're saying. I don't think it is. I think this is a passing of the torch kind of situation. Yeah, where it's utilizing the family, and it's also utilizing the fact that they're not going to be able to do this for much longer. They need to get this out of the way because this isn't an option that they can just get back to like a year down the road. Nor should it be. If they did this a year down the road, it would. I don't know. It wouldn't be as exciting. I'm saying overall, like these guys might not be alive a year down the road with the way wrestlers' lifespans are.
Flair may not have a job come Monday. Flair said something to Natty at the SmackDown tapings that's going to get edited off, so I don't have a problem saying it in here. He told her to kill herself during his promo. Yeah. So he may not have a job come Monday.
No, I don't have a job.
Ric Flair's done a lot of terrible things, even in the last couple of years. I think he'll be fine.
I feel like that one crosses a special line. They
edited it out. Most people aren't going to know it happened. Yeah, most people are not going to know that happened. Yeah. Does anybody think Natalya wins this match?
I hope she does.
Nope.
Yeah,
I think I'm wrong, but I hope she does because Charlotte has been completely fucking uncompelling for quite a while. I can't get behind her.
Anybody seen Becky or Sasha?
Becky or Sasha would both be better options than these two, but
Well, start the women's wrestling title era.
I think Charlotte has improved on the main roster. I think she took some backward steps once she came up, and it took her a little while. And I do think that having Ric Flair in her corner has helped with her confidence a little bit on the mic. ultimately, I do buy into Charlotte as the heel champion and just being pretty much an asshole, for lack of other words. I guess I could use a couple other words.
How long can she base this whole thing? Her gimmick right now is based around having her dad right there. It's that I'm Ric Flair's daughter.
Well, can't fucking stand. She's got to have the rub from him. It's like fucking. She's fine by herself, but when you put her fucking old man there, I don't give a single shit about her anymore.
Well, so my guess is there's a decent chance that they move on from that after this pay-per-view. I don't think it necessarily even has to do with Charlotte pushing Ric Flair away. At least not in the way of like being like a face turn or anything like that.
Right.
But I think Charlotte's proven to this point that she's very capable of being the heir to the dirtiest player in the game throne. Like, she can be a cheater. She can play that role. She's kind of like brought herself into that. Eventually, someday she'll turn face again, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, I can totally wrestle." But right now, her character is all about being a cheater and doing whatever it takes to win. And I think she's very capable of doing that on her own without having to have Flair. Like, I think she's gotten to that point.
Well, I think she just really wants to establish that Flair name, and they want people to know that she is Ric Flair's daughter.
Yes.
That's part of it. That having him out there for as long as they have is solidifying that.
Yep.
I think that also having him out there, like, it has an adverse effect to people like Bryan where they just don't give a shit about her.
Well,
but
it's like,
for the most part,
it's me too.
I'm just saying though.
So.
No. I'm just using that as an example. I'm saying people like Bryan. People like you, jackass, I get it. I know you're upset. But I'm saying, like, if you don't care, to be indifferent about it and to not care is different than being angry about it. A lot of people are mad about it, which is exactly the kind of reaction that they're wanting out of you. I think the whole fact that it is the women's champion and it's supposed to be about women, but Ric Flair is such a part of it, is just adding to the fuel that Charlotte is this heel, and it's making people hate her and making people want her to be beat. I feel like that is all part of it. I also feel like the Dr. Phil shit that happened is going to be a clip that, like Josh said, after this particular pay-per-view, they'll probably start heavily playing on the fact that she needs Ric Flair to be there in order to win. And, they'll start playing that clip a whole bunch of what Dr. Phil said to her and about her and all of that. I think it's all going to be lead up to her needing to part ways with Rick in order for her to prove herself. But yeah, I feel it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon.
Well, yes, because they want you to know that she's Ric Flair's kid, but like from the get-go, outside of maybe the first couple of months, that's all she's fucking been is Ric Flair's kid.
Right.
Like, P.S., her music fucking blows donkeys. It sucks so much. And it's like, oh, well, it has to have the fucking Ric Flair sound, but we need to have some sort of, like, heavy guitar in there. So let's take this classical song and put some heavy fucking guitar in with it and make it sound like a fucking dog farting. And that is what her music is. I mean, as soon as I hear her music, I want to go, oh, fuck this. I have to watch some of this.
Well, I really think what they're trying to do is extend time frame in between the shit they've done on NXT and when they're going to do it again on the main roster. They seem to just be repeating themselves from NXT. So they need, like, time to pass in order for them to copy themselves, or else people will say, like, oh, you just did this 6 months ago. Like, if you wait a year and a half before you redo a match that you did on NXT, at least people have some time to forget about it before, and then they're like, oh yeah, do I remember this? No, I don't really remember. I don't know. And then they can just move on and accept it again.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think it's a time frame thing. I think they want Rick there because she couldn't work the mic well enough, so they had Rick there, and they're just not letting it go. And I don't think it's ending soon. I think Rick's sticking around for a while, unless he gets in trouble for what he said.
I mean, Rick hardly gets on the mic. You describing him being on the mic on SmackDown is one of the few times I've heard about him being on the mic. Most times he just goes, woo!
He's been on the mic a lot in the backstage segments.
Yeah.
I don't know. All this said, I think that there's enough in there for me to cheer for Natalya. If I had to put money on it, I'd put money on Charlotte, but fuck it. I'm going with Natalya on this because that's going with my heart, and I think it'll make the match a lot more fun to watch.
Going with your heart and a heart. See what I did there?
Jesus.
Oh.
A Nad Hart.
Oh.
All right.
No.
Does that make up for some of my other awful jokes?
Yes. More of your awful jokes. I want all of your awful jokes.
I
Who's your
want
pick
all
for
of
the match?
It's Natalya because Charlotte sucks.
I picked Charlotte because you guys aren't basing this in reality.
Oh, I know I'd be completely unrealistic, but goddamn, I want Charlotte to lose.
Yeah, I'm in the same. Charlotte's going to win, but I want her to lose.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the big grudge match, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. I have no idea how the hell this is going to end. I honestly almost just see them pulling a NXT Dallas hashtag fight forever and then just like punching each other to the back, and eventually the cameras lose sight of them and they just disappear, and we see them the next Monday and they're still fighting.
Right. Same clothes, just all tattered and ripped, dirty, like they fucking fought the whole road from wherever they are this week to
Totally.
next week. Yeah, I can
totally
see that.
They hitched a ride in the back of a truck and they were still fighting in the bed of the truck the whole time.
Totally like Peter Griffin versus the Chicken style, where there's like tanks and other shit involved too. Yeah.
And we'll see it. We'll see a few clips on their Snapchat, and that's about it. Yeah. There's gonna be one intern assigned to following them around with a phone, so they could post Snapchat clips. Oh my god, that
shouldn't they post that on Tout?
What?
They should post it on Tout.
What's that?
What's Tout?
You know, Tout? That thing, Tout.
I don't know what Tout is.
Oh, WWE. Out of all the poor investments you've made, actually, this is
XFL was the worst.
Yeah.
No, at least the XFL lasted for 6 months.
They put a lot of money into Tout, and that went nowhere. Like as soon as they picked it up.
Hey, everybody sign on to Tout, this thing that does everything that you want, except it doesn't do it nearly as good as everything that already existed.
Yeah.
I wonder where the guy that designed Tout and then sold it to him is, because I bet he's on some sort of island living fat right now.
Totally. He's in Puerto Rico.
Come to Puerto Rico.
By the way, I still love those promos.
They are the best. Even if Puerto Rico is in terrible financial debt.
Yeah, I heard they were not painted in such a good light on last week tonight.
No, it's not that it wasn't painted in a good light. It's just, Puerto Rico's been fucked by the government, because much like many offers, when you call in to offer or order something by mail, it's offer acceptable everywhere except not in Hawaii and Puerto Rico. Every government bailout, every financial assistance program always had some sort of weird excluding Puerto Rico kind of connotation. So they've been screwed financially, and now people are just buying the debt and,
Is Puerto Rico not a state because they don't want to be a state, or we don't want them to be a state?
They have multiple times voted to not become a state.
Yes.
Alright, well, you know what? It's your own problem, Puerto Rico.
I'll tell you what.
That's the biggest debate on the island.
Oh, man.
Government sidetrack. The reason Puerto Rico is excluded from a lot of that shit, same as American Samoa, is because they're not states. And the reason, I know Derek's example was Hawaii, but the reason that Hawaii is never excluded is because they're a state. The reason that you can send a letter for a standard one fucking stamp to Hawaii is because they're a state. I don't know if it would solve Puerto Rico's problems, but I think a lot of their problems are caused by not wanting to actually be the 51st state.
Their problems could also be solved by us just going and visiting their tourism as Primo Epico.
I don't know, there are better islands to visit, though.
Hey, what the fuck, man? You don't need a passport to go there, though, so that's a plus, right?
Unlike all of you other Americans listening, I have a passport.
Piece of shit.
Have you seen the flowers in Puerto Rico?
Have you seen the flowers in Holland? They're tulips.
But these flowers look like they smell really good.
But they don't. That's the crazy part. There's no smell to them at all.
Stop Derek, you're Puerto Rican. Stop making us not want to go there. Oh, the flowers don't smell good in Puerto Rico.
The fact that they are sniffing those flowers is a joke that they're fucking probably laughing at secretly backstage. Like, that is
as they film the vignettes in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. No shit, right?
Anyway. All right. Moving on.
Go to Puerto Rico. Give them their.
I didn't even give my prediction for Owens.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. I guess nobody really did. Well, my prediction is fight forever. Bryan.
My prediction is general pleasure at watching the match.
We know you're going to be pleasuring yourself watching the match. Who do you think?
Oh no, that's the next match.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know who's going to win. Kevin Owens.
Sami Zayn.
I've got Sami too because I think he needs his first main roster big win.
And not if Sami Zayn wins, I would hope it's not even necessarily just a roll up. Like he does something to get in Kevin Owens' head and gets a really solid Blue Thunder bomb, Haluva kick, both everything.
Oh yeah,
another thing we haven't seen yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a cheap, win. I think it's a solid
tap
victory.
out in the
That'd be cool. I'd like that. All right, so Bryan.
Yes, Josh.
Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho.
Hey.
You should see the fucking tent my shorts are pitching right now.
Yeah,
Bryan's gonna make
it's gigantic.
Sounds I make when I talk about Lana.
It's disturbing.
I sure am.
This is really awkward, you guys.
It's really awkward, yeah, because two of you guys are in a room together.
I know.
And you're sitting far apart, yet I imagine the size of his boner right now is like making the distance.
I'm trying not to look at it.
The only thing that can help this giant chub right now is a Dean Ambrose win. Mark it down. Dean Ambrose wins.
I agree with you. I think Dean Ambrose wins. I think Jericho's won enough. Jericho won at WrestleMania, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, man.
In a match he didn't need to win. He won at WrestleMania.
Sweep it. Dean Ambrose wins. That's kind of fun. Dean Ambrose wins, and honestly, I think it might be time to solidify him in the driver's seat for #1 contendership against Roman Reigns.
He needs a motherfucking push.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. The Miz, Intercontinental Champion, defending against Cesaro. This is gonna be fun. I think it's just gonna be a fun match.
I think it's going to be
they're
fun.
not going to have the IC belt change hands this fast, so I'll say the Miz retains.
I agree.
Not what I want, but it's what I think is going to happen.
I agree with Derek and Josh. The match is going to be really fun, but they're not going to want to change the title, and Cesaro will lose.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm going Cesaro. Just because that's what I want to happen, and, fuck the Miz.
I love these predictions because occasionally we're just like, I'm going with what I want. Because that was totally me earlier. I'm actually going with the Miz on this one too.
Well, you know what's funny about this is I was talking to Josh, and I have a friend at the Suns, Jeremy, but I was talking to him about this, and the house show victory by Samoa Joe. Like, that's one of those things that completely changes your mindset and concept about how they're going to do their title belts, right? Because it doesn't even take them really needing to do it again. Yet every house show that you go to now that will feature, a title match, you'll at least in the back of your head have the thought that, well, they did it with Finn and Samoa Joe. This could happen again. So it helps to legitimize their other matches that they're going to have at house shows going on, at least for the next year or two. where people will, think back about that match and think like, hey, anything can happen. I feel like changing up their pace and even the Zack Ryder winning the belt and then losing it the next night kind of changes, the way that we view a lot of this stuff. Like, they could easily have Cesaro win it, and it would seem like it came out of left field because, well, they don't have titles change hands that fast that often. But hey, why the fuck not do it every once in a while just to keep people on their toes and, make the audience feel like anything can happen at any time.
Yeah. I guess out of the title matches, like between this and the Kalisto Ryback match that most people won't even watch, both of those are pretty decent contenders for the title changing. More so than the other two.
Valid. But still.
Jared?
Nah, never mind.
Okay. So that takes us to the main event, where I think we'll close out most of our discussion for this week. Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, we talked about this a fair bit at the beginning. Whatever happens at that match, whether it's, has to do with Gallows and Anderson, Finn Balor, the Usos, who knows? Like, there's a lot of different things at stake. I don't think Roman Reigns is going to drop the belt so early, let alone to AJ Styles. I mean, to your point you were just making, Derek, it would blow people's minds and would be really interesting if AJ Styles was to somehow come away with this. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either. I really just hope that it continues the storyline that they've been building, which has been really well done. I just want to see where it goes from here. I'm doubtful of it, and I think that there's a strong possibility with all the things we've been seeing and the clues they've been dropping that, they're going to either align with Roman Reigns or just in general be against AJ versus being with him on Sunday. So I think that Roman is going to retain one way or another.
Yeah.
Still don't think they're ready to flip that heel switch on him and give him henchmen and have him be the main heel in a heel faction. But now's the time. Like, his reaction has been so fitting of that. I mean, people might drift over the next couple of months right into that, just disinterested phase with Roman Reigns. Right now, he truly has a large percentage of the audience like hating him. Mm-hmm. So I say if you're going to turn him heel, this Sunday makes the most sense.
Dude, I don't even think I'm so, I don't know, me, I'm beyond like the turn Roman Reigns heel conversation. Like, I think he pretty much is. Like, he's as heel as he needs to be because of the reaction he gets.
Did you not watch Raw when he came out and went over to Make-A-Wish kids and they showed him for like 3 solid minutes?
Yeah,
of,
and
high-fiving Make-A-Wish
and I got shit from holier than thou Twitter people because I posted something like, "Yep, don't give a fuck about this," because I don't. Hey, guess what? Bray Wyatt does those too. Whatever, man.
But they don't show it and highlight it.
Yeah,
that's the difference. That's the weird thing about Roman Reigns' character is, by all stretch of the imagination, between the reaction and the way even he's acting, he's a heel. But they want to lay the storyline like he's a face, and they want to keep doing all of this stuff to highlight him being, this badass face.
And I'll give credit to Hartford too, because as he went up to the kid and did that whole thing, the crowd kind of like, polite clapping and whatever. But as soon as he walked away from the kid, boo! It just went right back to it. Because that's how it is,
Maybe they'll realize that since New Day's been outselling him in merch, that he's not actually that great of a face.
Yeah, no, I mean, New Day's outselling everybody in merch, but I haven't paid attention to his merch sales, but I don't imagine that he's been up there anyway. I imagine guys like Kevin Owens and, Finn Balor have been outselling him now for months.
Or they're right up there with him, yeah.
Without having the same exposure that he has of being the champion or in the champion picture.
Yep.
I mean,
that's a big part of it.
He's pushed on kids and young people and all of that as being this guy, I just speaking from a merch standpoint, I don't even like his merch. Like, forget liking him as a, person. There's lots of people I don't like, but I still see T-shirts and I'm like, oh, that's a badass shirt. Like, his merch is right up there with Randy Orton's merch as far as shit I hate and can't stand. He doesn't even get that much merch for being the face and the, WWE champion. Like, really, when you look at it, John Cena used to come out with a new goddamn shirt every single week.
Yeah.
Or at least once a month.
And
like, there's a new pay-per-view.
Those are all terrible, too, for the most part.
Yeah. He didn't come out with a new shirt. He came out with the same fucking shirt. Every fucking
different
month.
color.
Just slightly tweaked.
Same fucking
Does
shirt.
anybody think AJ Styles is going to win?
No.
Nope.
Sadly, no.
Oh, that's a bummer. But it's going to be interesting, right?
Oh, yeah. And, man, if they pulled it and did it, holy shit. Like, because WWE has always wanted the NWO, right? They always wanted the NWO. And when they finally got the NWO, it was too late. It was this old, decrepit version of the NWO that wasn't fully functioning and didn't really have their heart in it. And they never got to do the NWO stuff that they wanted to do. They never got the young, hip, popular NWO. And that's essentially what they've got in the Bullet Club. If they wanted to, they could completely, do this thing and commit to it. And it could be a fun ride. And I'm not saying that they won't. I still think that there's a possibility that they're going to do it, and it's just going to be with Finn. But, I don't see them doing it now, even though it would be very cool to do that. I think that merch sales and everything else, I don't know what the hell they would call it, but, it would be awesome to see them just pull the trigger on it and, and do it. Put the band back together, give AJ the belt.
Well, here's something interesting about giving AJ the belt. And my memory may be failing me. I'm not Billy here with this stuff. But AJ might be the first person since Benoit who was a world champion in a different promotion to get the WWE title. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure that there's been nobody who's come from like TNA, WCW.
Rob Van Dam? Wasn't Rob Van Dam champion in between there and now?
Did he have the world title?
Yeah, he had both.
Okay, so Van Dam. But even still, Van Dam's reign was how long ago?
Oh, yeah.
And
quite
very short.
And very short, yeah. Absolutely.
So you've got something pretty major there, and I'd like to see it happen. I just don't expect it.
Right. It all comes down to that thing of if WWE wants to take something else from somewhere else, and build it up. Right now, it seems to be their MO. They're not shying away from acquiring all of this amazing talent from around the world and making them into WWE, products. Some people are getting reassigned new identities. Other people like Gallows and Anderson are just being allowed to be themselves. And so, that leads me to believe that they definitely want to hang on to this whole Bullet Club thing and just make it happen in WWE somehow, some way. It's not going to be called the Bullet Club. It's not going to have the same stuff, but it's going to be very similar, I definitely hope it's not Balor Club, because that does not appeal to me at all, even though the shirts are pretty cool.
I think if anything, they just call them Bulletproof, but they're doing that, but...
I really like the name Guns and Gallows. I think they've even said that on WWE TV a couple of times, and at least for the tag team of them, I like that name. I don't know. I mean, it kind of sucks because the Bullet Club isn't going to exist much longer. Does it even exist still in New Japan?
No, I think they're calling themselves the Elite now, so...
Well, they have the Elite.
They're still booked as the Bullet Club.
Right. But they're all dividing off into individual factions. I know Tama is tagging with his brother.
Right.
And they're calling themselves something. And it definitely seems like the Bullet Club is dissolving and dying as we speak. So I wouldn't be surprised, if WWE even waited out, the trademark to come up and just stole the Bullet Club away and started calling them that. I know that they would love to have that in the WWE, even if it was a New Japan creation.
I feel like that's like 5 years out or so on a trademark.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's not anytime soon, but still, my point being is they did it with NWO after a certain point. I wouldn't be surprised if they waited it out. I don't think they'll wait that long to do something with them. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if when it came available, they acquired it. They stole the Click, Too Sweet symbol and made sure they trademarked that. So, once stuff like that comes available, I'm sure they'll get it just so that they can, talk about it and, produce those sweet Bullet Club T-shirts in the future where they'll resell on the shop.com.
Well, yeah, and there were reports that they were trying to negotiate with New Japan to get the trademark when they got
the name. Yeah,
when they got Gallows and Anderson, AJ. So they made an effort to do it, and you never know. Vince may eventually say, "Yeah, it's worth the money now." Once these guys start really clicking to whatever New Japan was asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that. I didn't know how much of it's true, but it also kind of coincides with the way they're dissolving it right now, New Japan. So who knows? Yeah. Maybe a deal has been reached and we just don't know about it. But I think that's it's just one of those things. Like that was a unique group. It was something that transcended New Japan. Like people were wearing Bullet Club shirts that probably never even saw a Bullet Club match. They were just buying them the same way people bought NWO shit in the 90s because it was cool and it was hip and it was like, oh, what's that shirt? Like, I knew people that wore NWO shit that never even watched wrestling, so that was, the same shit at the time. It was just like a pop culture thing versus being, something that I bought this shirt because I love these guys and I watch it. So, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me, but WWE definitely has something amazing with them right now. I think that they're definitely going to capitalize on it and have them be, if it's not the Bullet Club, it's definitely going to be like Bullet Club Light. That's going to happen soon. The Finn Balor thing is happening soon. He dropped the belt. It's happening.
And they're showing that the Finn dropping the belt on NXT this week.
Ah, cool.
So just to throw that in there, I saw that a little bit ago. Forgot to mention it earlier. We'll get to see that match.
Good. That's pretty cool. Glad, because the only thing I've seen has been shaky cell phone footage.
Yeah, and essentially that's the type of footage they use in the commercial too. So I'm curious to see what else they've got.
Well, they set up cameras like when we were in San Jose for that non-televised show.
I know.
They
we haven't seen any of that yet.
Didn't they show? They've showed footage of Tommy doing the GTS on.
Yeah, we saw that somewhere.
Breeze. Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about the Balor Joe match. Anyway, let's we've gone on long this week.
Way too long. Sorry.
Winners of the week time.
Yes.
Someone go.
I'll go Gallows and Anderson.
Cool.
Can't pick two.
Yeah,
they're a team. They're counting.
Yeah.
It's the New Day rule. I'm taking them. All right, somebody else.
I'm going Chris Jericho because I think Chris Jericho's in a very Shawn Michaels type of position where he's on top of his game and he's in a great position to put guys over without making himself look weak. He's going to be elevating guys. That's kind of his new role, and he's hilarious and very entertaining while doing it. And I very, very happily boo him.
Yes. I'll take Sami Zayn. I thought his match with Rusev was good. I thought the flipping off afterwards was good. And I think the rivalry with Owens is the best thing WWE has going on right now. I think it's fantastic. I think he's a great underdog that everyone can get behind. And, there's few guys right now on the roster that are capable of being Daniel Bryan-esque. And I feel he's one of them. So he proved it this week. I also like the edge of him flipping people off. That's kind of cool to me too.
It was a close decision for me. I was really, really close to giving it to the person who incessantly held up a sign with nothing but the Hatchet Man on it the entire time.
No.
But since that person is technically not a wrestler, I'm going to have to give it to Dean Ambrose because he's super sexy and I love him.
That makes sense. What about the people that had the corresponding "Why is your hair so wet" signs this week?
Yeah, that's really good. Really, really good. All right.
You and your Dean Ambrose and your mason jars, by the way.
Dean Ambrose is pure sex.
Such pure sex. All right. Cool. Well, I don't know how Daryl does this every week. He opens and he closes, and I'm trying to think of all the things.
He usually says,
thanks so much. Yeah, I was going to say, thanks so much for listening to the Steel Cage podcast this week. Where does he go
Follow
from there?
us on Twitter.
Follow.
Derek is at @cap_caveman with a K. Brian is at Guitar Salad. I am at SuperJew75, but all roads lead to @the Steel Cage.
I think you forgot. Brian is at Guitar Salad.
Yeah, guys, my Twitter handle, @Guitar Salad.
I said
follow
that.
@Guitar Salad. No, you didn't. So make sure you say follow @Guitar Salad.
Follow @Guitar Salad. Actually, unfollow him for his comments earlier.
My jokes were hilarious.
And then follow him again. Yeah.
Double follow him.
And then tweet about following him, too. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Make sure you tell your mother to follow me.
Also,
send us an email.
Well, this is something we put on our Facebook page. Go to Facebook, and you may like us on Facebook already and follow us there. Type in the Steel Cage Podcast Discussion, I think. That'll bring up like a whole other group on Facebook. It's kind of a smaller group right now, but if you want to get in on it, by all means, send a request. We'll probably let you in. We'll typically there's like some random discussion about the podcast, but then just other random things that we may want to discuss as a community of us and listeners and whatnot that isn't necessarily always as easy to do on Twitter.
Right now, Derek has Andre the Giant in a mason jar. Go check it out.
And there's more of that there's more coming. Just, yeah. Anyways, send us an email, podcast@thesteelcage.com. I try to read as many as I can on the podcast, usually, unless I'm really lazy. Sometimes that happens. But even if I don't read them, I try to respond or pass them off to Derek and Billy, or something. Something usually happens. They do get read. Anyways, go to thesteelcageshop.com and check out our t-shirts. They're super soft style, super nicely fitted shirts. Brian wears them everywhere.
Our t-shirts are the king of soft style.
Yes, they are. Great design, and again, super comfy. Like, seriously. I'm wearing one right now. What else does Daryl do? Anything else I'm missing?
Remember, kids.
Make
sure that Daryl closes out your podcast.
Hey. I'm getting there. I'm getting to remember, kids. I'm doing the thing where Daryl asks if anybody else has anything else to do or say or promote.
I'm going to have Drew Galloway on Minutes with the Mayor.
Well, shit, man. That's big. There you go.
No big deal. Just the Impact champion.
That coming out this week?
If he's supposed to be off this week, so if we're able to line it up.
Okay.
If not, I will have Greg DeMarco from Phoenix Wrestling on this week, talking about a new promotion here locally in Phoenix.
Greg DeMarco.
We're going to be talking about all the things that he has going on and what it's like setting up a brand new wrestling promotion.
Cool. Good deal.
So if Drew's not available on Wednesday, then I'll have Greg on, and if not, Greg will be next week.
Awesome. Those both sound like pretty good listens. I'm excited. Let alone the occasional Dirty Sheets podcast. Whenever Billy decides to pop back up, we'll have those keep on coming your way. All right, cool. Well, hey, it's been fun. We'll catch you guys after Payback. Hopefully that's also awesome. And remember, kids, Chicago is a fun wrestling town, but please do not chant for CM Punk. Please.